Hello, and welcome to another edition of Thought Leaders Live, where we talk with thought leaders in business, life, and all points in between. Today, we've got a very special program, and I'm so honored to have David Woods Bartley join us today. Um, I saw a great post by David a few weeks back, about what is depression, and we'll get to that. And it's funny. I reach out to people, they don't know me. And David was so generous and said, yeah, he didn't know me at all. And he's like, I'd be happy to come on your show. So David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, Greg, thank you. And thank you for reaching out. I mean, and thank you for what you do to bring in. I feel very humbled to be in the same space as the other guests that you've had. I don't know if I'd consider myself a thought leader. Certainly if you talk to my children, I don't think that they would put me in that category.
Well, it's funny. We have people who come on the show and they all kind of say the same thing, like, oh, I've never thought of myself as a thought leader. But to me, a thought leader is somebody who's out there and they're doing something different. They're kind of provoking us in a certain way and leading us and making us think about things in a different light. And I think you for sure are doing that. Name of the show is Connection Creates Hope, and Hope Saves Lives. And I can't wait to dive into some of the things you and I were just talking about regarding hope before we started. But boy, David he's an award-winning and internationally recognized mental health advocate, 3-time TEDx speaker, survivor of severe childhood trauma, suicidal ideation, served in the military, and he's a mental health. He talks a lot about going from mental hellness to mental wellness. 2025 Speaker of the Year for the Mental Health and Suicide and Excellence Awards. And boy, you are doing such important work, David. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your personal journey and what you're doing now?
Sure. So I'll just make one correction. So I've not served in the military, but I do serve the military.
Sorry about that.
No. It's easy, and it's something totally understand. And the reason is just I have such great respect. So I'm just going to dive on that real quick. So I have 3 older brothers. I'm the baby. So they are Jim, John, and Tom are 6, 9, and 11. And this is Lexi, by the way, everybody. So she's in my lap. So if you hear snoring, it's not me. It's not me sleeping. Hopefully, it's not Greg. So my eldest. So we lost our father, James Hamilton Bartley. He was just 40 years old, and this was way back in 1970. I just turned 63. So I was 7, and the boys were that much older than me, and our father died of cancer, but he also, Greg, had been riddled, really almost like eviscerated with clinical depression. In fact, back then he was put into what they called sanitariums, and all the orderlies wore white. So it was like a bad movie. It was like One Flew Over a Cuckoo's Nest. Right. His father, my paternal grandfather, killed himself when my father was 5. So I'll come back to this, but this sets the stage for the DNA train that ultimately hit me, just full on. But the point in terms of the military, at the time our father died, my eldest brother, John, who's 11 years older than me at 18, he stepped in as my dad, and he has continued to be that place. So he proudly wore the uniform of a U.S. Army soldier for 42 and a half years, which is, in all my work with the military around the world, I've never met anybody that's done 42 and a half. So he enlisted, did time as an enlisted soldier, then made his way to West Point. He graduated. The class of 76 was really famous for a whole bunch of reasons. One, there had been a terrible cheating scandal at West Point in 74, 75. The Army really didn't know what it was doing at that point in time. And so the general officers, the generals, the 1 stars to the 4 stars that came out of that class ultimately would direct the Army into an incredible place. So there was some of the famous generals were General Odierno, who was the 4-star chief of staff of the Army, General McChrystal, who may be one of the greatest special forces operators of all time, and General Bartley, my brother. So he's my guy. And he has had nothing to do with me speaking in the military. And I say that like, oh, well, you had an insight. No, I would never ask my brother to do that. And yet every In the military, they call them briefs, which are talks. Every talk that I give is an opportunity for me to honor him. Now he's living his best life, scuba diving all over the world and everything else.
Good for him.
So the condensed version of me. So have this DNA train, and what I share with people is DNA is can be like kindling. You're gonna start. You're gonna ignite something, but you need a match. And I mean it pretty well documented that match is universally trauma. But part of my take on this whole subject, especially around suicide, and it sounds weird, but I actually love talking about it because I have some different ideas, and you've been kind enough to allow me to share some of those here today, is that to try to give people a different view of things. And a lot of times I'll leverage a definition because you really can't argue with the dictionary. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines trauma as severe and lasting. Okay. Severe and lasting emotional shock and pain caused by an extremely upsetting experience. So like later today, I'm going to work with sixth graders and I'm going to give them a talk on suicide. And I will ask those sixth graders, what is it about those last three words that I'm so passionate about? And every once in a while, one of the kids will get it and they say, well, Mr. Bartley, that means it can be anything, right? I'm like, exactly. It can be anything. And see, I think part of the challenge is that if we've created the space for a person to share with us something that has been traumatic for them, and yet it lands in our brain as like, oh, it's not really that big of a deal, then we've nullified the sharing. Instead, when we realize all it has to be by definition in the Cambridge Dictionary of all places, it just has to be extremely upsetting. And what I teach is, and I just came back from 2 weeks in Korea with the 2nd Infantry Division and gave them, which we'll talk about, some instances that when someone shares, they don't tell you, they share with you. And those are two different things. Like today with you and I is all about sharing. I'm not telling you anything.
Right.
And when someone shares, as human beings, we want to take people's bad feelings away from them. We want to make you feel better. That's not our job. And in the words of Lady Bird Johnson, who says, everybody needs the opportunity to hurt out loud. She didn't say take the feelings away. So when someone shares what has been traumatic for them, the response that I ask people to have is, wow, thank you for sharing. Because how many times when we've shared something difficult, someone said, oh man, wow, thank you. We'd like it never happens. And all of a sudden we've created an entirely different experience for that soul. Like, man, I just shared, I trauma dumped on you and you thanked me for sharing. And you didn't try to talk me out of how I felt, or you didn't say, hey, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right. You know, look on the bright side of sunflowers and pumpkins and whatever. You just, wow. And then the second part is, I think this question will save more people's lives. And it came from the universe, not me. What can I do to help you feel supported right now? And realize, brother, that's a distinction from what we oftentimes in good intention would ask each other. Hey, what can I do for you? Because if I ask you that, what are you going to say? Nothing.
Nothing.
Exactly. But this question is different. This question people answer. What can I do to help you feel supported? And you know what they're going to say 99% of the time when that's a follow-up to, wow, thank you so much for sharing that with me. That had to be really hard. Or just thank you for sharing. 99% of the time when you ask that second question, you know what they're going to say? You already have.
Yeah.
It's just,
yep.
It's just so I have this, no, go please.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think what struck me when I was watching you and share your story, and it conjured up this memory I had. But first of all, what you said, that everybody's got some sort of trauma. I just wrote my own memoir, and I'm thinking,
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I'm thinking, is this really a problem? I mean, is this just me whining? And I appreciate you saying that everybody's got their issues, and it's not like, we throw out that term first world problem. I think we kind of have that. My problem is a first world problem, but no, it's like, to your point, if it's really traumatizing you or bothering you, it's for real,
Right.
and it's really affecting you. So thank you for that. And then the other thing is, I remember one time I was on a call with a bunch of agency owners. Everybody was talking about how great things were going for their agency. And I said, to be honest with you guys, I'm really struggling right now. Business is down. And I could just see everybody then when we ran around, everybody opened up about their struggles and their problems.
Right.
And so I think what you're doing is you're giving people permission
Mm.
to and validating that, hey, that's the struggle is real. And what
Yeah.
you're doing, that's what's so important about what you're doing, David. Tell me a little bit and tell people watching about the bridge, because
Sure.
I think it's, if you would, I think it's
Oh,
so
absolutely.
important.
So to conclude the causal aspect, so DNA, and then to have trauma as the match. So first trauma was lost my father at 7, and back in 1970 they didn't know anything about grief and depression or anything like that. It was more like suck it up, buttercup, just you didn't. And then when I was 11 to 12, I was tortured, sodomized, and raped by a Boy Scout leader. And unfortunately, brother, that period of time, I was not to minimize mine or gloss over anybody else's experience, but there were hundreds of thousands of us boys at the time, now men, who were preyed upon by Catholic priests and Boy Scout leaders. And we were all told the same thing. These are rites of passage. All the boys go through it, but nobody talks about it. And back then, if someone told you not to talk about it, you didn't. And it wasn't until recently when I read the great Maya Angelou's autobiography, I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. And I listened to it, and this amazing woman, Maya Angelou, read it. So I'm like sitting with her, and she talks about when she was raped by her mother's boyfriend, and he told her, if you tell anybody, I'll kill your brother. And her brother was her world. And Maya Angelou said, there's no greater agony than bearing the weight of an untold story. Mm. And so you fast forward, then that was my life. And so moved through different careers and everything else, was raised in Maryland, moved to Sacramento, California, met my first wife, this amazing woman, Deanna. We created this world famous end-of-life animal sanctuary that was on the cover of the Life section of USA Today on June 2nd, 2010. And 14 months later, I make my way to the Forest Hill Bridge, not the Golden Gate Bridge. This is about 2 hours further east. And the Forest Hill Bridge, at 730 feet tall, is 500 feet further off the ground than its more famous cousin. It's actually the 4th tallest bridge in the United States. Wow. Made my way to the midpoint. I'm ready to go, because even though I'm running an end-of-life animal sanctuary, I'm in USA Today, I'm doing all these altruistic things, I have a great marriage, all these things, what I believed about myself was that I was worthless, useless, stupid, pitiful, grotesque, and all these other things. Was that the truth? No, of course not. It's what I believed. And one of the things that I've added into my work in like the last 90 days, which I'm quite frankly proud of, is I stumbled upon this, is that every action that we see, no matter what the action is, this action right here, every action we see is based on a belief that we don't see. Everything we do as human beings can be traced back to our belief, whatever that belief is. We have all, and see, for the longest time, and I think even now, people confuse belief and truth as the same thing, and they're not. You can't change truth. Truth cannot be a lie. Truth is supported by data and facts and empirical, all this stuff here. But belief, by definition, is unwavering confidence in something that one knows to be true, but has no need for evidence to support such a feeling. So you know what that means? You make it up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And this to me, I give credit to God. I think this is the keys to the kingdom on this thing around suicide, because we are confused as to, wait, what in the world could have compelled Robin Williams, of all people, to kill himself? Wait, you could argue at one point he was the most loved person in the world. What in the world? Well, what I would say is there was a belief, something. There had to be. Because science tells us belief creates the paradigm from which we think. How we think that's where our feelings come from, our thoughts, and our emotions create our actions. So it's boom, boom, boom. It's incredibly clear. So I'm like, oh my gosh, wait a second. And the beautiful thing is, beliefs are created one way, by experience. They don't just like, you can't, well, I had this thought. Well, where did the thought come from? The thought had to be inspired by an experience. Even when you go to Starbucks, when you have an intimate experience, if you get in a traffic accident, when you join the army, everything in life is an experience. And every experience that we have influences belief one of three ways. Either creates a brand new one, and we've had that, like, oh, wow, or adds to our dominant belief set. And we know when we're in a space, positive or negative, we collect evidence to support the belief. Or, and I'll tell a story here at the end, and these are so great, where you can have an experience that blows up a belief that no longer serves you. And for this one, the easiest example is we have a soul who is overwhelmed with addiction of whatever it is. Let's say it's alcohol, and wakes up one day and says, man, I got to make a change. And they go to AA and experience. They get a sponsor and experience. They work the step and experience. And then what happens is things change. So what I teach is, and I'll teach the kids, if you don't like who you're being, that's your visible action, trace back to what is the belief that's inspiring that. If you don't like that belief, change it. How do you change it? Avail yourself to a new experience. Hang out with different people. Read a different book. Get up at a different time. Eat something, whatever. It's so easy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this we can do. So back to the bridge is I always thought in the hundreds of thousands of times I had ruminated on this particular day, August 31st, 2011, that I would kind of fly out like a bird and hit the North Fork of the American River, it was going to take me 7.5 seconds to come down. And Greg, right at that moment, I remember thinking, wait a second, I'm going to fall forward and I'm actually going to be looking up at the bottom of the bridge. Now, it wasn't an epiphany like, oh my God, life's worth living. No, it was just like, wait, this is a logistical adjustment. I got to just kind of have to get myself, well, it was divinity, because it kept me in that space long enough for somebody said, oh no, they drove by and they picked up the phone. Sheriff's deputy approached me, who just happened to be in the area because the bridge is kind of secluded, just happened to be there. And he approached me from the left-hand side, and he made no contact with me at all. He created a connection. And it's the Brene Brown that should be in the Cambridge Dictionary. And she says, I define connection as the energy, like we're having right now for me, the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, when they feel heard, and when they feel valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and they derive strength and sustenance from the relationship. I mean, like, mic drop, like, wow, why are you so smart?
Tell me about the interaction between you and that first responder, because it's so pivotal, but what, I heard your story about this on the TED Talks, and to me, as I was listening to it, I'm thinking about that first responder and thinking that they probably had training on how to deal with someone in this situation, but this person seemed a little different to me.
Yeah.
And tell me about how they talked to you and connected with you.
Yeah, no, I don't think they did have training, or if they did, because when I train officers now, they don't, he was dropped from heaven or something. I don't know. He came from dead. And I love police officers. This is not, I love the thin blue line. I mean, I'm going tomorrow to talk to police officers. One of the things that I stress, so there's three methods in my world, three methods of creating connection. One is recognition. The other is expression. And this one is understanding. What we see is almost never what is. So, you as an officer, you can imagine you come upon a situation like, another loser, what a wimp, how selfish could you be? All this other, which I get, I totally understand that. But it was all, well, not almost Dave. I definitely, I like to say I heard him before I saw him because I heard his footsteps. And I don't remember the initial back and forth, but he had gotten my name.
Yeah.
And I remember he asked me, and the more I've thought about this, the more details that have come up in my mind since
Sure.
the first TED talk is, oh, actually, you know what? The way he actually posed it, because I like to be specific around it, was, David, would you please share with me how you are feeling right now? What in the world? Like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, come on, man. What sort of trick question is that? It's just like, one, I always tell people, one, to use my name, which is huge. That's part of the recognition because I'm big on names. Two, his manners were exquisite. Like, he used please. Like, you can never use please and thank you too much. I mean, I have a ton of stories in regards to that. So don't ever think that you can say please too many times. And then he said, share, not tell. He didn't say, hey, tell me how you're feeling. He said, would you please, he asked, would you please, like, very graciously, would you please share with me how you are feeling right now? I was, and so actually, so that question was to a certain degree the same as if he had physically grabbed me to keep me safe. The power of curiosity, actually. So I step back. Now both feet are on the safe side of the rail, and then I take 2 steps back and I face him and I say, I was pretty pointed in my, come on, like, you don't really want to know what I feel. Like, come on. I said it with some more colorful language, which we won't hear. And then again, he said, yes, please share with me, David. I'm like, who are you? And so I just, and then Greg, and then you know what he did next is he thanked me, which I've never had that experience in my life where somebody, I just like I have trauma dumped on you, brother. And he said, wow, thank you so much for sharing that with me. What? Then the second question that you and I talked off camera, what can I do to help you feel supported right now? It's not what he didn't say, because this would have screwed things up. Hey man, what can I do for you? Because we would say nothing. I'm good, bro. That question, what can I do to help you feel supported right now? And I don't know. I mean, I have said this question. I have used this question. I've thought about this question. There's something, the brilliance, the divinity, the sacredness, the accessibility to it. I don't know. People answer that question. They do. And what I tell people is, when you ask that question, no one's going to say, hey man, could you give me $1,000? Could you give me a new car? They don't. Because it is, and I tell people, you have to be specific, especially, when you say it in this sort of situation. If you do it in a follow-up situation, maybe you can be a little more casual, and maybe it's not quite so formal, but in the initial point with somebody in a relationship, either you know them or you know them well, or you just met them, I think the formality, especially in response to when they've just like opened their heart and soul to you, I think the formality and the structure of it's really important. So I know, like with my wife now, she says, well, could we maybe not have it be quite so formal? I said, okay. Yeah. Somebody said, okay, what can I do? What can I do to support you? See, even that is different than what can I do for you?
Right.
There's a tone, there's a tonality, I don't know. Words are, I mean, obviously words are big in my life. And I just think it's all about the phrasing of how you pose the question.
I also think you're identifying that you see that they need support.
Mm-hmm.
That word support is really what you needed at that point. And it was very specific that he was there for you.
Yep.
He was not only there to listen, but then he was there to help you. And I think, the language is so critical in today's day and age. And he chose his words very, very precisely. And the words and the delivery he did, also what impressed me is about it is is he stopped time, it seems like. He
Oh,
stopped
absolutely.
time for you because you were racing, it
Oh
sounds
gosh.
like.
Like, and in that, yeah, so Simone Weil says attention is the purest form of generosity. I'm going to give you my time.
Yes.
So here he's exactly. And so in that, I mean, that space is, I use the word sacred a lot because I think it's a great word. And then so people always say, well, what did you say in response to the second question? And it's funny because it wasn't funny at the time, but I think about it now, how quick I was to jump to an assumption. I said, is it going to be okay? And then there was this pause. And then he says, I got to be honest with you. And I'm like, oh no, oh my God. I got to be honest with you. You're going to be a straitjacket for the rest of your life or what? I mean, my mind now I'm interesting that just, I have this epiphany right now. I'm ramping back up. And then he said it again. I got to be honest with you. I'm like, I'm all these different like regrets are coming over me because I'm like, why did I trust this person? He said, but it was so great what he said. He said, it's going to be really, really hard. And then he took his hand and he put it on his heart. And then he pointed at me and he said, David, you're going to be okay. I know. And then like, oh man. And then the third question, would you please come with me? And I said, yes, I will. And so I was taken off the bridge, went to an emergency room, and I'm going to go spend 15 days in a psych ward, which was a phenomenally positive experience. Nothing but good, which I know you don't often hear that.
Right.
And when people found out where I was and why, they were like, wait, that's the same guy. Woody's because my middle name is Woods. Many people, my family and others call me Woody. Wait, Woody, that's the guy that runs the animal sanctuary. But there's no greater agony than bearing the weight of an untold story. So, yeah. And that, my life really, quite frankly, came apart after I got out of the psych ward because people were worried. One of the things I'd like to do is to create mental illness as a kind of a category, and suicide in particular as casserole illness. So, if somebody has cancer, we show up with muffins, but if somebody spent 15 days in a psych ward, you ain't getting anything. And so I think if we can, and we will, I've read it and I'm listening to it again, the great Malcolm Gladwell's book on the tipping point. And he is just one. Again, like Brene Brown, how could you be so freaking smart? I mean, that's unfair. Like, leave it.
You just named two of my heroes. Keep going.
Oh my gosh. Like, come on, man. And he reads it. Because if I start reading, I fall asleep. And when I have the author read the book, it's like, I'm in this. Yeah. So, and he's talking about, Malcolm Gladwell is talking about all these different things, the simplicity and the reality of what causes tipping points. My belief is, especially working with an entity as large as the military, we can hit a tipping point because, and I give credit to all the people in my life. I am the voice box and the universe, that these ideas that they're so easy to implement. And it's really, and now listening, because a lot of times I doubt myself, which I've done my whole life. And in listening to Malcolm Gladwell, I was listening yesterday, like, wait, but this is how tipping points are created. These simple things that, he tells a story at one point in the New York subway, like it's just a mess and people are being, all these different things. But what the new director, and I apologize, I can't remember his name, he didn't attack the big problems. What he did is like he positioned 10 plainclothes police officer to catch all the people who were jumping over the turnstiles and not paying. And then he'd line them up in like a daisy chain. And so people are going back and forth like, oh my gosh. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, then maybe I am onto something. Yes. The simple things of remembering people's names, of letting people know how you feel, and to use curiosity to look beyond what we see, because we can become convinced that our view is it. and to realize that the belief is the driving force in all action, and belief is not concrete. I'm not criticizing anybody's spiritual or whatever. I'm just saying, if you want to change your belief because you don't need evidence, okay, we'll create a new belief. And then if in the foundation of a new belief, you're going to think different, feel different, you're going to do different things. So if we create a belief, and all beliefs are created by an experience, if we reach a tipping point where we are out there connecting with every single person that we see. So I give you a story. So I had the incredible honor, like one of the truly top, I don't know, 5 moments of my life. I got a chance to go brief the deputy chief of staff of the Army at the Pentagon, of all places. I'm like, what am I doing here? I did like, so his name is Lieutenant General Brian Eifler. He is I've known General Eifler for 4 years now. We met when he was the commanding general of the famed 11th Airborne in Alaska. He is a beautiful, wonderful, incredible, badass Ranger, 75th Ranger guy. He's just a great guy. So he says, hey man, you got to come and brief my staff. I'm like, okay. So I'm going on a quick little tangent. So I don't believe in suicide prevention. I don't believe it. It doesn't work. I hate it. I hate it. I don't hate the intent, but I hate like it just like, but I didn't want to complain or what can I offer something different? And I was literally out walking my 2 dogs, Lexi and Percy. And this was about a year ago. And Greg, literally the voice came in my head and said, they don't call it an anti-drowning jacket. They call it a life preserver. And I'm like, and then I'm like, wait, they don't call it an anti-crash belt. They call it a safety belt. You and I don't have death insurance. We have life insurance.
Sure.
So the shorter version of this, because I know time will become an issue because I'll talk forever. I don't talk about suicide prevention. I talk about life preservation. And I put it in the context of this, that, one of the great organizations that have a whole slew of some of the most heroic and dedicated people in the world is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I'm going to convince them one day to change their name to the American Foundation for Life Preservation. That's really what, and it's not just a cute change in words. It's a difference between intentionally stopping something from happening and encouraging something to continue. Those are different. And this is a transaction. This is ongoing. This is what we want to do. So all that I talk about is geared towards life preservation. And General Eifler and I, we've created some stuff together that's had a really positive effect with the troops in Alaska to reduce the number of suicides. And he got promoted, and I'm sure he's going to get promoted again because he's just an amazing soul. So I go to the Pentagon. Wow, this is amazing. 35,000 people. And so I'm going to meet with some senior staff, and then have a one-on-one with him. I hadn't seen him in a while. And then I'm going to go brief like 250 people and all blah, 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 blah. And I'm walking around the building, and I'm kind of a, hey, how you doing? Nice to see you kind of guy. And I know rank, and rank is right in the middle of uniforms. And so as these generals and colonels and admirals, and hey, good morning. Hi, how are you? Just throughout the day. So I'm with Samantha, is my handler for the day. This wonderful younger woman. Well, everybody's younger than me because I'm 63. So she's probably 40. So anyway, end of the day, we've been together for 8 hours. And Samantha says, Mr. Bartley, may I say something? I said, yes. He said, sir, I've been in this building for 9 years. 9 years. I said, wow, that's a long time. She said, yeah. And you know what? I said, what? She said, I've never seen that many people smile before.
Wow.
So Greg, I'm like, all I did, and it wasn't me. I was the vehicle through which the universe expressed. I just said hi. Yeah. People, I tell you, I'm like, oh my Lord, I can't believe, could it be that easy? And you think about the tipping point, we don't know what's going on. We don't. I tell the Army, I said, look, you need to accept 4 things. 1, get rid of suicide prevention. You don't have to take apart the program. I'm just saying, I need you just to shift your focus. 2, there are no signs. We've been teaching the same signs for a million years, like they don't exist. Because what you've taught me what not to show you. So let's get rid of that. 3, it's never going to make sense. Never. It won't. It won't make sense. And 4, we don't know who's at risk. We don't. So none of these 4 things is me throwing up my arms saying, I give up. No, you know what they do? These 4 things help me to what? Better understand the problem. Sun Tzu, Art of War, says you don't want to fight your enemy. You want to understand your enemy. It's like, okay, I got you. I understand you now. And so I said, we could take so much money and time and everything else. Just accept this. Apply it to this. It's not giving up. We better understand the enemy. And so then what we do is we apply these TTPs, these tactics, techniques, these procedures to everybody. And the analogy I use is, so early 70s, people are dying in droves in car accidents in the United States. I mean, it is a huge epidemic. And they're like, man, we got to do something. So they get together. Okay, we're going to do education, better seatbelts. We're going to put these new fangled things called airbags in. We're going to do side safety stuff. We're going to do all these different improvements, and let's see how it works. But you know what they did not do? They didn't make all those equipment changes and improvements to the types of cars driven by the types of people who are most likely to get in accidents. They didn't do that. You know what they did? They put them in all the cars. And you know what happened at the end of the 70s? I'm just saying, could we please do that with suicide? We just apply it to everybody. If we accept this as the reality and apply it to everybody in the Malcolm Gladwell genius of tipping point, can we do that?
And I think I'm going to circle back to what I said earlier, just about my writing my issues. I bet if you did that to everybody, all boats would rise, because
Absolutely.
everybody's got some issues. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs support. So it's not going to hurt. And like you said, if we all start to acknowledge that and start to move in that direction incrementally with small, it's not complicated and it's not that hard. It's just opening yourself up to it. We can move mountains. David, I gotta end this here. We're in a little bit of overtime. I know, man. We could go all day, but thank you so much for coming on the show. Anybody watching, I mean, we've just hit like tip of the iceberg with this gentleman. Check out his TEDx speeches. They're amazing. You will weep, you will smile. They make you laugh, they make you cry. And then I mean, they really will.
No,
and also go to his website. But if someone wants to get in touch with you, David, how do they do that?
Please, call me. So 916-247-6389. You can also email me, David at davidwoodsbartley.com. And that same contact, if you just Google David Woods Bartley, stuff comes up. And I know if you do, there's contact information. For people who want a glimpse into the sanctuary, if you Google a glimpse inside a chance for bliss, there's a 6-minute video that really gives you a day in the life, and all credit to my former beloved, still great love in my life, different in terms of status, but still Deanna is amazing. All credit to her in what we were able to do for these animals. So yeah, brother, thank you. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, just don't ever hesitate to reach out.
Well, you bet. Well, hold on for just a sec. We're going to end the show. And thank you everyone for joining us in another special edition of Thought Leaders Live.